Girish, I'd say today it's been pretty energised. The mood has felt less like a traditional election that we would expect perhaps in Australia and more like a festival here, a celebration. And that's what people on the streets of Dhaka have been telling me about how they feel about this election. They say that this isn't just another day in Bangladesh. They call this an opportunity to reboot democracy. Of course, it's been, as you mentioned, about 18 months since those student-led protests that saw Sheikh Hasina's government toppled. There's been a caretaker government since that time, and now is the chance for the people of Bangladesh to come out and choose their new future. And I can tell you that already voter turnout has been incredibly high. We are still waiting for the final numbers, but it does seem to be so far up into at least the 80s, perhaps even 90%. And people here are saying that they feel that this is a chance to choose a government that is different from that of Sheikh Hasina, perhaps, the government that was known for corruption and violence. People here say they want a new era for Bangladesh. And to give you an idea of how significant this is, the whole country has been shut down now for 4 days. 4 days of public holidays. All of the shops and the factories around here are all closed so workers can go back home to their constituents to be able to place their vote. And there's a real festive mood on the polling booths around here and on the advertising stations. There are balloons and fairy lights and glittery streamers, and people are going around the streets cheering. I will mention as well, though, there is that tight security, more than 1 million security personnel, including the army. I think you can probably see some police coming through right now. Also paramilitary groups that have been put out onto the streets across Bangladesh to keep the peace in case there are any incidents. Now, we have heard of just a few isolated incidents, only 3 or 4 at this stage across the entirety of Bangladesh, which I think is probably a good sign, but we don't know what's going to happen when the polls close in about half an hour time and the counting begins.
Yeah, you can even hear that festive mood behind you, and as you say, that security there is tight, and we've just seen that happening right behind you. Allyson, who's the front runner? Who is seen, or who are seen as the front runners to win government?
There are 2 major parties. You've got the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, the BNP. According to all the polling, the BNP is expected to form government, to win this election. And just around the corner from where I am, a couple of hours ago, I was actually standing next to the leader of BNP, Tariq Rahman, expected to be the next Prime Minister of this country, as he placed his ballot into the voting box. And I managed to ask him a couple of questions about how he was feeling. He said he was feeling confident. And he said that he also felt it was an enormous privilege to be able to come back to Bangladesh because he has been in exile for so many years, to come back to Bangladesh and to place this vote. And certainly a lot of people that we've spoken with on the streets here today, they are supporting BNP. But there is another front runner as well that could provide a challenge to the BNP. That is an Islamist party. They are run by a man called Dr. Shafiq Rahman. Jamaat-e-Islami is the group, and that is a party that has set itself up as a group that is going to challenge corruption. That is one of the big sticking points for both major parties, I would say. And I think we will see pretty strong votes for Jamaat as well. One thing I would mention is that there is some conversation around Jamaat here in Bangladesh and what a future under a Jamaat government would look like. Jamaat famously has not run any female candidates in this election, but there are people who see Jamaat as a bit of a refresher to politics in Bangladesh, as a party that could offer something different from more legacy-like parties with leaders like Tariq Rahman, for example.
Yes, and lots has been talked about the Gen Z party, the National Citizens Party that was born out of those protests that ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. How are they expected to perform?
Look, they're not expected to be a ruling party necessarily. They're not expected to win outright. But interestingly, NCP has gone into an alliance of sorts with Jamaat. This is the Islamic party that I just mentioned to you. And so they have joined forces. So it could actually push Jamaat into a leadership position in a coalition in some sense. Now, that in itself has caused some controversy. There are some people from NCP who have left the party because they don't believe that Jamaat is a group that they want to be aligned with. But there are others who see this alliance as a way to ensure that young people and the next generation of Bangladeshis have a credible voice in Parliament and are able to affect legislative change. And they think that tying themselves to Jamaat-e-Islami would be the best opportunity to achieve that. I was speaking with a woman earlier today. She was part of those July 2024 protests, and she said that she is going to still be voting for the NCP, even though it has gone into this alliance with Jamaat, and she is really hopeful that the party will get enough votes to be able to secure it into a coalition with Jamaat to be ruling Bangladesh after tonight.
Yes, and then finally, of course, is the shadow of the ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina still looming over this election, given her party, the Awami League, has been barred from taking part?
Yeah, exactly. So we're not seeing people out here actively on the streets talking about her party. But what I will say is that we've been told that there are people perhaps in more rural areas that would still like to vote for that party. ABC has achieved an exclusive interview with Sheikh Hasina. My colleagues in the India Bureau have spoken to her. She has said in this interview that this election is not an election in any meaningful sense. She has said that this election, in her words, is a masquerade. She also credibly believes that she is still the Prime Minister here. She said she did not resign from being the Prime Minister. She said she was forced out of the country. She fled for her life. In her words, she's now taking refuge and is hiding out in India. So she has said that the Awami League should be allowed to participate in this election. It has been banned by the caretaker government, and she's questioned how this could be considered a true democratic election if the Awami League is not allowed to participate. Now, for some that might seem quite hypocritical, given that in the past, under her rule, there were other parliamentary parties that were also banned or boycotted elections because of ongoing corruption. So that might seem quite a hypocritical thing for her to say, but she has also said to her supporters that her message to them is remain peaceful, remain patient, and continue to believe in democracy. So I think that is also a little bit of a contextual warning, if you like, that no one really wants to see this election descend into violence or chaos.
Okay, Allyson Horn there in Dhaka. Thanks very much for your reporting.